Join us as we set off on a virtual journey to explore our work at one of the most iconic and inspiring sites in the world, Angkor Arkeological Park in Cambodia.
My name is Ginevra Boatto'nun, and I'm the representative for the World Monuments Fund in Cambodia. Today, I will be your guide in an adventure to discover some of the most incredible sites in the Angkor Arkeological Park, and we will also learn about WMF's critical impact for the preservation of these temples and how this contributed to the rebirth of Cambodia. At the end of the 80s, Cambodia was reopening to the world after 2 decades of isolation, political turmoil, and social conflicts. At the same time, looting was rampaging. Most temples were left abandoned and the forest was regaining space. And most of the educated people, archaeologists, architects, and others had either left the country or were eliminated during the brutal regime of the Khmer Rouge. And likewise, skilled workforce was lacking. So it is at that time that WMF came to Cambodia for a first mission at the end of 1989 and came as one of the first non-profit organizations to Cambodia to contribute to the preservation of the temples. It became clear at that point that the only way to guarantee the preservation of the temples for future generations was to recreate this missing generation of heritage professionals. So it is then that WMF went to the Royal University of Fine Arts, newly reopened in Phnom Penh, and select a small group of students from the faculties of architecture and archaeology and brought them to Angkor. Here, they were trained by some of the best specialists in heritage preservation. And likewise, local workforce from the surrounding communities were trained specifically for heritage preservation. And their first learning ground was a Preah Khan. So let's go and discover it. The Temple of Preah Khan was built by King Jayavarman VII at the end of the 12th century, after a victory against the Cham invaders. WMF, then headed by Bonnie Burnham, proceeded with opening our first office in Siem Reap in 1982. World Monuments Fund spent the first years just removing trees and vegetation and make this access open to all visitors and making it safe. So that's why we work very closely with the demining team. They're headed by the then project director John Sanday. WMF's interns spend their time graphically documenting all pieces of this temple, doing small repairs and interventions. Over time, the extent and complexity of our interventions at Preah Khan have evolved, following also the evolution of the skills of WMF staff. This temple is just huge. Since 2014, our project engineer, Pirum, is conducting a structural assessment of the whole site. So he's looking at every little section of this place and assessing the structural conditions. And then everything is put into a master plan and he decides whether there is a priority for intervention or not. Hey, Pirum. Hi.
Hi.
Tell me, where are we now?
At Preah Khan Temple, at Ikonik 3.
Okay, perfect. So we have a small project going on here. Can you tell us a bit more, please?
We are replace new laterite foundation and install 4 column, reassembling out the original stone.
Fantastic.
Then,
and I see we have a lot of blocks scattered in a very ordered way, but scattered all around the site. So some of these are originals. Are they all original from the portico? What can you tell us?
We found the original stone from that buried in the ground, and then we are reconstruction back to the original place.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And when do we plan to finish this project?
We plan finish this project the beginning of next year.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so just a few more months to go. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Piero.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Actually, his work for the structural assessment of the site has a big potential for the whole Angkor Park, which is why we were very pleased when Apsara Authority asked us to train some of their staff in how to use it. And it's time to look ahead to our next destination, the Temple of Ta Saum. Come with me. Much smaller in scale than Preah Khan, the Temple of Ta Saum is a very fine example of Jayavarman VII's temples. Our visit here today will be very short, but I still wanted you to come and see Ta Saum because it holds a special place in the history of the World Monuments Fund at Angkor. So after WMF's team was very much trained at Preah Khan, then Ta Saum was the first place where they could actually work with very, very little international supervision. So most of the works conducted here are probably fairly simple and small, but they were very important in boosting the self-confidence of our team. And this was very much needed before undertaking the next step of work at Angkor Wat. From archaeological excavation to documentation to stabilization projects, WMF worked at Ta Saum since 1999. So our works include, for instance, the North Gopura 1 and its stabilization of the towers. Let's see more. One of the most important interventions WMF conducted at the Temple of Ta Saum is certainly the clearing of the courtyards. So imagine a pile of rubble all over this courtyard. So clearing these blocks allow us on one side to guarantee for visitors access. And at the same time, with these original stones, we were lucky enough to be able to reassemble some of the original frontons, like the one that is just behind me now. We are now at the East Gopura 3, so we got to the other side of the Temple of Ta Saum. And I wanted you to come here to appreciate this huge strangler fig tree that has grown on top of the Gopura. But so, as you can imagine, a tree like this can have a certain load. So even though we cannot, at this stage, remove them, we have to manage them, which means we need to trim them when necessary. We finally have gotten to Angkor Wat, built by King Suryavarman II at the beginning of the 12th century. I'm glad we finally arrived to the churning of the Sea of Milk Gallery. You should know that Angkor Wat is one of the only 3 temples in the whole country, which brought us so many carvings telling us about the system of beliefs of the Khmer ancestors and also their daily life. And this is likely the most significant bas-relief in the whole temple of Angkor Wat because of the symbology of the ever-recurring iconography of the churning of the Sea of Milk. That is why it was a very daunting project for us here. A major problem of water infiltration from the gallery roof vault was clear. It was 2007, and WMF decided that the times were ripe to engage in a long-term conservation intervention and mobilized a large team to disassemble each and every stone of this gallery roof, section by section. Now you can be here at any time during a huge storm, and you're completely dry. There is no more water infiltration. So I asked my colleague Mova today to be here with us and tell us a bit more about this project, since he was the site manager of this colossal work.
ខ្ញុំគិតថាវិចិត្រសាលនេះគឺជាភស្តុតាងដែលដូនតារបស់យើងបានបន្សល់ទុកដើម្បីជាកន្លែងរស់នៅរបស់ពួកគាត់ខ្ញុំគិតថាទឹកនៅជាមូលហេតុចម្បងដែលធ្វើឲ្យមានការខូចខាតប្រាសាទអង្គរវត្តជាច្រើនហេតុដូច្នេះហើយបានជាគេដាប់ដុំថ្មធ្វើជាចង្អូរដើម្បីបង្ហូរទឹកចេញការរៀនសូត្រនៅអង្គរវត្តបច្ចុប្បន្នគេបានយកទៅធ្វើអនុវត្តនៅភ្នំបាក់ខែង បច្ចុប្បន្នគេកំពុងធ្វើជំរាលតូចៗជាច្រើនដើម្បីនៅលើផ្ទៃរាបស្មើការងារនៅអង្គរវត្តពិតជាមានការទទួលខុសត្រូវចំពោះយើងទាំងអស់គ្នា
I think really this project bestowed acknowledgement to World Monuments Fund from the side of the Cambodian government and also the side of UNESCO. What was your family, what were your kids thinking of you when you were working here at Angkor?
ចំពោះគ្រួសារខ្ញុំកូនខ្ញុំគាត់មានមោទនភាពណាស់ ដែលមានឪពុកខ្លាចជាជាងជួសជុលអង្គរ
The stabilization and restoration project was completed in 2012. So prepare for a pickup ride to Phnom Bakhine. We're standing at the bottom of a hill, one of the few natural ones in this area which is predominantly flat. Phnom Bakhine was built at the turn of the 10th century. Phnom Bakhine, the temple mountain, is built around a bedrock, so the original rock of the hill. We are now at the northwest of the central pyramid. Here, sections of the original wall have collapsed, leaving the bedrock, just next to me, completely exposed. So it's a good spot to observe the original conditions of the bedrock before intervention. Why has the wall collapsed in the first place? You can easily understand that rainwater here plays a certain role. So imagine over 1,000 years of exposure to the water. Imagine that throughout time, blocks, pavers were displaced, moved from their original position, even slightly. And this has brought in more entryways for water to come in and affect the conditions on the underlying bedrock, accelerate its decay into soil. Let's discuss the repair method, which is a result of a long work of coordination and discussion among all the specialists from APSARA, World Monuments Fund, and UNESCO involved with this project. The repair method follows two directions mainly: stabilization of the bedrock foundation and 2, waterproofing of the terraces. For the portions of bedrock foundations which are missing, we use either laterite or sandstone as an infill material. Then the new foundations are leveled and given a slight pitch between 2 and 3%. We then continue with the waterproofing measures by installing a PVC waterproofing membrane, and then we continue with reassembling the stone wall. No wonder this is a very special place for sunset goers. It's the highest place in the area. Everyone who comes to this temple just comes for the sunset, so around 4 p.m. And now I have invited our colleague Vatana to join us for a few questions. Can you tell us a bit more about WMF's employees in Cambodia?
WMF right now is made up more than 100 people, and everyone is Cambodia except you. Our working approach has been always to encourage them to step up on their job. WMF also give the good working condition too, such as year-round employment, rest, other benefits of the insurance, retirement, etc. Right now, the children of our worker can go to university. Our team is called to international other team in Angkor to train them with the professional skill.
What you describe really talks about how WMF's training, WMF team is having an impact in Angkor, in Cambodia, and around Southeast Asia. We have been teaching transferable skills, which is, skills that can be applied in other industries, such as construction. If you think about installation of the lead sheets, installation of waterproofing membrane, troubleshooting, maintenance of crane and generator, and many others. So when I think about the future of this program, the future of the people who work with us, I think we really needed that. We do have nurtured a generation of heritage professionals. I strongly believe that it did contribute to the rebirth of Cambodia because of the important skills that we taught to our team and because we could employ them year-round for these many years. Thank you, Vatana. And thanks to you for taking part to this virtual tour of WMF's projects at Angkor. Most importantly, thank you for your support. And now I hear there's some noise coming from the east side. Vatana, come with me. Let's see what's cooking up at the end there.